We are very honored to be speaking with the Superintendent of Park City School District, Dr. Jill Gildea. Dr. Gildea, we really appreciate you being here on what must be one of the most busiest times of your year.
It is always busy, that's for sure.
It really is, and of course, as we've mentioned several times, this is a year like no other. How are things going?
Oh, thank you so much for asking. We're all nationally, globally charting some unnavigated waters. So we are definitely looking at health metrics. We are looking at solid enrollments in both in-person and remote. About 10% of our kids going remote for the year and about 5% taking advantage of some hybrid modeling, but the rest seem ready to return.
How are the teachers and staff doing? Do they feel ready, anxious, excited, worried? How are they?
I think we have all of those things kind of wrapped into one. I think there's always an excitement of a new school year. Certainly, everybody wants to see our students and see how they've all been doing. We haven't seen them, obviously, since March 13th in person. So this is a big step for all of us to get back together and establish solid relationships and procedures so that we all stay safe and healthy this school year.
You're right, it's a huge step. Many individuals are back in person. Students, about 90% you mentioned, will be heading back to school. So now that you have those numbers, how are things going with making sure that the classes are smaller and socially distancing students in the hallways, lunchtime? How is that looking?
Right. So each school has its own mitigation plan, and those mitigation plans are really critical for the overall, again, like social distancing, keeping all of the rules and regs at the forefront. So lots of new cleaning procedures, lots of OSHA aligned training for everybody to know what we can do to mitigate risk of transmission of contagious illness, including COVID. So we are definitely looking at class sizes. We are looking at plexiglass dividers for those high impact areas. Single arrows designate a pathway through the school. Each school has a map, and students will be practicing those new routines and learning the rationale for that, because I think when students understand the why, it's easier to comply with these new parameters.
And do you feel it will be a bit of trial and error as students head back into school, as the teachers, staff try and make things work in such a unique way?
It will definitely. It is iteration at its finest. We're almost like a startup now, right? All the schools are having to start up much the way a new corporation or a new organization would be with these things in place. But I think it's really important for families, students, and our staff to remember we're really looking at layered mitigation. So everything that we're doing to improve the environment, from the ventilation, the wearing of the face coverings, the distance, all of these things together are what make it a safer environment. The cleaning frequently, the frequent hand washing with each transition, those things will make a big difference. And it's the layered impact of those that make it possible to return.
And how is the online remote learning looking? I know that Dr. Amy Hunt has worked tirelessly to make sure the curriculum, the education is the same. Also, there's issues with social isolation. You want to include these kids. How's that going?
Absolutely. So all of that training is ongoing as well. We had about 100 of our 360 staff members participate in an online teaching course this summer. So teachers had some additional training as to how to interact with the virtual environment and with kids who are a distance. I keep thinking Mr. Rogers was probably the first virtual teacher. If you think about that, that's of course from my childhood. But I think, we can make connections and build relationships even from afar and even in a distance environment. And that's, of course, the goal. That, and then, of course, the academics.
It's an incredibly a lot for teachers to balance as they struggle with this new school year. Some are doing both online, in person. Are some dedicated just to online remote learning? Is it just a mix for all of them?
Yeah, so for grades K through 6, we do have dedicated remote teachers. So they actually are assigned a section of students the same way they would be if they were here in the classroom. So there are students assigned to a teacher in a remote classroom. For the upper grades, 8th through 12th, our teachers really puzzled this out and recognize the strength of having our curriculum and our courses. So students will be able in some rooms to stream in very much like we're doing right now. There will be others where there is asynchronous delivery where the kids can review an uploaded lesson that's been recorded. So there will be a variety of modalities that the teachers will be able to instruct the students on.
And of course, recently sports have started. There was a big football game last week. What are you hearing about how these events have been going, if they've been safe? What is kind of the feedback that you've gotten?
Right, so we are actually looking at hosting our first game on Friday night. And of course, we will be at 50% capacity. So people will have to purchase tickets ahead of time, and there is assigned seating. So we're learning from other districts, maybe what to do and what not to do. But we believe the tickets as well as the zoned seating provides a help. You know, that's an extra part of security. All visitors, whether home side or visiting side, will have to have face coverings on during the game. The only exception for that is if you happen to be eating something, but otherwise face coverings again are just a huge part of this mitigation strategy. So we will expect any of our students or parents who visit the game to please comply with that regulation for safety's sake.
Well, looking forward to kicking off the school year. Any advice that you have for students or parents before we hit that big day, Thursday?
You know, we are just also excited to get back. I would say travel lightly. We don't need a whole lot of supplies that very first day. It's going to be a lot of reminding the kids again of the procedures and the rationale for those. So frequent hand washing, a big deal. Practicing with the face coverings so that you have one that you like that's less irritating maybe to your ears or your skin. You know, really just coming with an attitude of being ready to see our friends, meeting our teachers, and being ready to learn is the exciting part of any new school year. And we're just thrilled to welcome our students back. We have about 4,925 students enrolled this year. Of those, maybe 500 to 600 will be in the remote environment of that number. And that also includes our preschoolers, who will start September 2nd.
Dr. Jill Gildea, always an honor to have you take time to join us here on Park City Television. We appreciate getting this great information and all the tireless effort you and your staff have put into getting ready for this school year, which starts on Thursday. All right, we have more coming up on Parenting and Education Day right after this.